Good morning, and it's just gone 6 o'clock. Welcome to the programme. I think one of the most arresting images that we've had so far is those children who have been imprisoned in Moscow. They went with their mothers to...
Laying flowers, the Ukrainian embassy. We are talking and we are inspired by the courage of Ukrainians at the moment. But there is a...
Why it's happening and why...
...gain in Ukraine. And we've heard this horrible threat earlier in the week, nuclear weapons being on high alert. There's this sense of frustration. If the oligarchs were responding in that position, how come then children being arrested for taking part in those processes? There's also a World War II veteran and survivor of the Leningrad blockade, 77-year-old Elena Osipova, a row of strength there by the Russian state against people, showing now that there's 1 million people leaving Ukraine, desperately seeking sanctuary around, hoping at some point to go back home. People here desperately thinking, what can we do to help? You know, close to me in South London, the Polish White Eagle Club opened, take in supplies, and there were queues all the way down the high street outside, people thinking, well, if I can just take some clothes, maybe that will help. It was interesting, the person organising that appeal said, actually, sometimes those things you think might have needed and where. We hope of a liberation mission in Ukraine. I mean, the Russians get a completely different picture.
Incredible. So
The invasion was because actually there are young people in this country who feel like they're in a war. Too many teenagers have lost their lives. I know that you're on a mission to try and keep teenagers in full-time education because sometimes it's the best thing to do. As the bad people from our schools, but actually if you keep them on board, it makes it less likely they're going to be drawn into violence, into gangs. And your students are also raising money on these crimes. It's tagged London's knife crime capital.
Yes.
And as you say, you know, it's absolutely terrifying, the fact that police could arrest children for taking part in that protest. They were holding, you know, the parents were holding signs. Enormous courage being shown by people in cities in Russia who are taking a stand.
Willing to stand up in the face. You can see that poor little girl in tears, trying to understand what's happening to her.
Yeah, exactly. Really intimidating, really frightening. And obviously there's a purpose to that, which is don't protest against what we're doing. Meanwhile, Russia says its troops have seized control of Kherson in southern Ukraine. It's the first major city to fall since the invasion began, and hundreds of civilians are feared dead in Mariupol after hours of sustained shelling there. Heavy casualties are reported in Kharkiv after cruise missile strikes.
At least 4 major explosions have been heard in the capital, Kyiv, in the last few hours. Meanwhile, an investigation into potential war crimes by Russia has been opened by the International Criminal Court. Our chief correspondent, Richard Gaisford.
Another consequence of Russia's invasion of Ukraine is that Roman Abramovich has put Chelsea Football Club up for sale. The Russian billionaire says the net proceeds would be used to benefit all victims of the war. It is not clear if that means Russian victims as well as Ukrainians. Jonathan Swain is at stand just a moment. She's an investigative journalist and author of Putin's People. We're also going to be speaking to the Times political sketch writer Quentin Letts and the Observer writer Sonia Soda.
It'd be interesting to get some Chelsea fans' perspective on this as well, of course, because undoubtedly Roman Abramovich's ownership of the club has come with a huge amount of success, investment both on and off the pitch as well, the infrastructure for the club, for the wider community and the Chelsea fan base. Let us know how you feel about the position he's in. Is he doing it for himself? Is he doing it for the best interests of the club? Because, of course, it's a very emotive thing, as we are both supporters of our own London clubs or clubs anywhere, to think that there's something happening to the owner that has brought so much success. Do they understand what needs to happen? I'd love to get your thoughts this morning. To get in touch with us. First, we're going to get the rest of today's news. Here's Kate.
History.
Is it?
Everybody needs good neighbours.
Ramsey Street once.
You did.
I think he's been there, hasn't he?
Yes.
Was that when...
Let's have a look at the weather. Here's Laura. Still to come on Good Morning Britain as Roman Abramovich puts Chelsea oligarch to President Vladimir Putin. That's next.
We're going to get the news, weather and travel where you are now. We'll see you in a bit.